You have anything you'd like to interject on or add?
I was clearing my throat. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You're doing great.
No. I was going to ask.
I'm listening.
Erik likes dogs.
I'm gonna chime in when I'm ready.
Okay. You can just cut me off. I get it. I understand.
You do you.
Okay.
I just watch it.
Oh, okay.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is time for another episode of Gen X Grit, veteran-owned business built different. Of course, we're going over that genre because this is covering specifically veteran-owned business, thus being in the title. This week, we got some people that have always been on Cochise County veteran-owned business, but this time I got them on Gen X Grit. It all gets blasted the same way. It goes all over social media because that's what I do best, or so I believe I do. But I wanted to bring them on today because it's not going to be me that answers the question. They both are experts in their respective field. Steve Gruden with Always Faithful Dog Services. Dog training. And Morgan Allen with Canines and Camo Pet Care. And that covers exactly
Sierra Vista and surrounding areas in Tucson. Is that what you were getting at?
Not the area, but what do you do?
Oh, why didn't you just say so? I do in-home dog walking and pet sitting services, 30, 45, and 60 minutes.
Once in a while on the show, I like to have a hostile interviewee, and we'll go ahead and handle that accordingly, especially after she introduced to me that, even though it's Gen X, someone decided to take up another letter.
Sorry.
Well, we still like her.
I'm glad.
I'm going to go ahead and sit back a little bit because I'm going to let them take over, so the floor is yours.
Great. Well, thank you for having us on, Erik of Z Line Creations. Give him a round of applause. Right. Yes, thank you for having us on. He does a lot of work to promote veteran-owned businesses, and I think a lot of the time he doesn't get the credit and recognition that he deserves. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share, all the things.
I appreciate it. As always, whenever you're looking for myself or the other two, the links are going to be in the description above and or the comments below, depending on where you are watching this interview. But without further ado, go ahead and do what you do.
Right on. Well, Steve, thanks for coming on today. I appreciate, meeting you, getting the chance to meet you. I can't believe it took me this long to call and be like, hey, my name's Morgan. This is what I do. Tell me about your,
You happen to be going the same direction. That always works.
It did work out. So always faithful.
A little bit worse. Just a little bit. I want to make sure you two get the main camera.
Okay.
Especially you, Steve. I know you're trying to hide
that corner.
You're hiding the corner. You are hiding the corner. All right, there you go.
All right.
Great. So you post a lot about leadership-based dog training. Can you tell me what is leadership-based dog training? And to even take it a step back, let's define leadership as it pertains to dog training and, maybe even dog ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. So leadership is actually a very passionate topic of mine, both in the human world and the dog world. So the definition that I typically use is going to be familiar to some of the Army folks that are watching, right? The shortened version is provide purpose, direction, and motivation, right? That's in both human world and the dog world. I treat dogs just the same way. When we're doing leadership activities, we want to show them why they're doing it. We want to motivate them to do it through, playtime and all of these other things so they know what they're supposed to do, right? So leadership includes a lot of rules and boundaries, making sure we're setting the tone for what we're expecting them to do inside the house and all of those different things, right? Most people that I've talked to just simply want to have well-behaved pets in their house. They don't necessarily care about tricks or anything else. They just want a well-behaved dog.
They want a peaceful life at home.
That's right.
And part of that is maybe a well-behaved dog a lot of the time. So when you're talking about the leadership, is that the way that you carry yourself, the way the owner carries themselves? How can the dogs learn to follow leadership the same way for their owner as they do for you, the trainer.
Yeah, so it's a combination. Most of the training I do is with the owner. I like to make sure the owners have the skill sets to do what's necessary. Um, but bottom line is, when we're talking leadership, what the whole goal of it, the whole purpose piece of the leadership is to make sure we get a happy, balanced, and well-behaved dog. And we do that in three primary methods, right? I want to communicate in a language that they instinctually understand, which is not English or a lot of words that we like to use. And I like to make sure that we establish those rules and boundaries that I talked about. And then lastly, obviously, we want to make sure we get them mental, physical, and emotional fulfillment.
Right on, right on. So, you're a trainer, you work with a lot of dog owners. Me being a pet sitter, I see a lot of different pets, a lot of different animals. What can I do when I enter a home? A lot of the times, I see that a dog's confidence comes from having their owner around, and probably from some sense of leadership that comes from having mom and dad around. So as a pet sitter, what are some things that maybe I could do to step into that role so that a pet feels comfortable when mom and dad aren't around?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I talk about the most is energy, right? What energy are you presenting when you walk into someone's home, right? A lot of times it's, I don't know, maybe there's some nerves or something if you haven't met the dog before and you're a little unsure. And so the dogs can sense that, right? So kind of having that calm, confident energy goes a long way right off the bat, right? So the first thing that I do when I walk into someone's home and I'm seeing their pet for the first time is I don't pay attention to them, right? I don't want to get them excited, overstimulated, anything along those lines. A lot of times folks will walk into the door and they'll start, trying to give the dog treats and stuff to create that bond and that relationship. But sometimes it's better just to go in, maybe ignore them for a little bit, let them calm down some, let them just get used to you being in their environment for a couple of minutes before you kind of start taking those actions.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I'm the same way. I tell my staff the same thing. I say, pets can always choose when and how to interact.
Right.
And we do our best to allow the animals the freedom to do that within the scope of what we need to do.
Right.
If we have to
And
get
you're on
the
a
dog.
time crunch too,
Yeah.
sometimes. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so we do our best. I totally understand where you're coming from with that one. Now, besides leadership and the basic responsibilities of keeping the pets alive, what are some other responsibilities that maybe pet owners might overlook?
I think the biggest one is mental enrichment, right? It's a responsibility to make sure that our dogs have obviously a positive home to live in and play in and all those other things. But a lot of times that manifests as, okay, I'm gonna feed the dog, we're gonna go out on our walk, we're gonna get some physical exercise, but we're not necessarily focusing on the dog's mind as much. And so when I talk to folks that have a very overstimulated dog who likes to tear things up and chew things that they're not supposed to, or whatever the case may be, it's almost always too much mental energy, right? Well, I walked them for an hour. Okay, then they got physically tired, right? What are we doing to help their mind and to stimulate their mind so we can create a more calm dog throughout the day, right? So I think mental stimulation, mental engagement is probably the most overlooked one that I see with most pet owners.
You have anything you'd like to interject on or add?
I was clearing my throat. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You're doing great.
No. I was going to.
I'm listening.
Eric likes dogs.
I'm gonna chime in when I'm ready.
Okay. You can just cut me off.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand.
You do you.
Okay.
I just watch it.
Oh, okay. All right. He's the platform or the stage. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
I'm just the comic relief right now, so
Oh, okay,
it's okay.
okay.
Is there a hat or something to wear?
I already got the red face to cover the red nose. So
all right, fair enough.
If you were at Stand Up for Freedom, you know. But
I was there. He was there.
That's right. Excellent event.
Mm-hmm. She almost hit the target.
I did. You know what's so funny is I threw way high on the first throw, and Jeff, he was like, "Oh, so close." I'm like, cut that out, man. No need to rub it in. But back to before I forget, I had a question come to me that's not on the list. Is there anything you see pet owners do that they have good intentions and they think it's helping their dog, but it's actually having the opposite effect, and it's maybe creating more anxiety or uncertainty or some kind of confidence issue?
Absolutely. The number one most seen thing is maybe a little bit too much stimulation. right? Or stimulation in the wrong times or at the wrong times, right? So demanding attention and kind of demanding how the dog controls interactions and things come up and jump up on you, and we're giving them lots of love, but I don't want my dog to jump on me.
Well, you're reinforcing it. Great minds think alike. That's pretty good. I think maybe also comes in the form of like pawing at you or scratching at you when you don't necessarily want that. And
that's right.
Keep you thinking, and it can be cute. Sometimes, other times it hurts.
Yeah. It's usually cute when they're tiny little puppies, and then when they grow up to be much bigger dogs, it's not cute anymore.
Right on. Yeah. Right on, yeah. So that might be a bad habit that some pet owners fall into. I am guilty myself. I admit it right here. But what are some habits or good habits that pet parents can get into the routine of doing that would maybe help them step into a leadership role, and B, just make their pet happier? Well, my mission's making pets happier.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes hand in hand, because a pet that's kind of calm and has rules that they understand, right? The rules are very clear, what we expect them to do and what we expect them to follow. It's not harsh. There's nothing harsh about it. But I think the best thing that owners can start to step into is what I call learn to earn, right? If there's something, if it's the feeding routine or whatever the case may be, let's put a little bit of earning into it, kind of create a rule around it, so it's not just a free for all day, every day. Door opens, dog tries to bolt through the door, bowl, start feeding the dog, and the dogs are going crazy and spinning themselves out. Let's put a little bit of rules into place to keep them calm and relaxed.
So on that, how important is consistency and routine
to
animals?
Everything. So consistency to me, it's clarity, right? If we are teaching a sit, for example, most basic thing we can teach most dogs. If sometimes we ask them to sit and they have to, and sometimes we ask them to sit and they don't, and they decide to go on about their day, what we're really getting into is an unclear ask, right? Sometimes I have to, sometimes I don't. So what's the rule? Am I supposed to or not? I don't understand. I don't get it. So consistency to me is the most important, because it's clear to the dog, and clarity is kind.
Yeah. Right on. One thing I like that you mentioned earlier is that dogs don't speak our language. They don't speak English. They know that certain sounds mean, oh, I should put my bum on the ground, or I should give you my paw, but they don't register words the same way we do. That being said, how do dogs communicate with us primarily?
Yeah, I think dogs naturally and instinctually, the three things that I focus the most on are energy, physical actions, and body language. That's the way that they communicate the most naturally, right? So that's why when I teach, sometimes I'll use some physical prompts to kind of show them what I expect or what I'm asking them to do, or have them figure it out first. Or there's a lot of different methods that we use while we're training, but those are the three primary methods. So you can, I spend, I praise my dogs a lot when they do what they're supposed to do, but I don't talk to my dogs like they're humans, because, well, they're not, right? So those are the primary methods: energy, physical actions, and body language.
Do you have a go-to method, or does it depend on the dog?
Always depends on the dog.
So it could go any which direction.
Yep. That's why the evaluation is so important. We got to understand the dog before we just jump in and start trying to teach a dog how to sit.
Right on. When you're going into an evaluation, what are the first three things that you look for?
Yeah. The first one that I look for is, how does the dog behave as soon as I ring the doorbell or knock on the door? Right, that's one of the very first things that I listen for. And how does the owner react in that situation as well? Kind of when I come into the environment, how demanding is the dog, right? You can kind of see very quickly whether there are active rules and boundaries within the household or within the pack before you even say hello, right? So I'm looking for how the dog responds. I'm looking for how the owner responds. Those are the two primary things. And then I'm also, kind of the third thing, I guess, that I would be looking for is, how does the dog adjust, right? Does the dog just stay overstimulated and amped up the whole time, or do they kind of regulate their emotions and calm themselves down pretty quickly? Or, those are kind of the main things I'm looking for.
That's pretty cool. So like your evaluation starts before you even enter the house.
Yep.
Do you have like a preliminary form that people fill out describing, what the issue is and what they would like the outcome to be, or
So I take notes when they call or when they register online. I get the form that comes into me, right? There's some basic information that's in there, but the majority of it is when I go in, I've got my full assessment questionnaire. It takes about a good 30, 45 minutes sometimes to get through the active evaluation. So.
right on, right on. So these next two questions kind of go hand in hand, but I'll just go down the list. So before I do you have anything at all you would like to ask, interject,
Yeah,
questions,
I do one.
comments?
I do one. Earlier you touched on physical versus mental. It was like you could take the dog out all day long, walk them, but then if it's still being active, stimulant or whatnot, and then it turns into a mental thing. So that's the type of just whatever training you have to do. The question is multiple dogs at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You go out there, you walk them, they're all getting together, friendly, pups, traveling the pack.
Right.
But then the mental aspect comes in. They're tired, they're laying around. But then all of a sudden, one is trying to be maybe more dominant or controlling. How is there like a technique or something to try and help get rid of that or just try to calm it down some?
Yeah, impulse control is the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go through leadership training, the very first thing we focus on is obviously the rules and boundaries, but then we talk a lot about impulse control.
Mm-hmm.
I want the dog to learn to use the thinking part of their brain more than the reacting part of their brain. Right? Dogs are just like babies when they're born, they're all amygdala all the time, right? They're responding emotionally. They're not getting into their prefrontal cortex, into the thinking part of their brain yet. So we have to help them do that. There's different ways to. Waiting is the most important to me. That's the first thing that I focus on. So if we're waiting for our food during feeding time, or if we're going outside and we're throwing the ball around, having them wait before I go ahead and toss it, right? So we're burning a lot of mental energy through waiting games like that. And I think we kind of find, I always describe the dog's mind as like a bucket,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when they're getting stimulated throughout the day, bucket's getting full. When the bucket gets completely full, bad things happen.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to help them empty it. And we help them do that by teaching them impulse control, teaching them some waiting games. If you have a mentally calm and mentally relaxed dog because they have enough mental exercise and stimulation, the likelihood of them getting kind of over that edge is a lot less than it normally would be. So in your scenario,
Mm-hmm.
you can go out and walk the dogs for an hour. They're going to come back in and be physically tired. Most dogs that I've seen, give them about 20 minutes and they're back up and rearing and ready to go because their mental bucket is still full.
Right. And that's the thing that I would just worry about, because I know I've heard about this in a couple instances with people I've interacted in the past where they have like two or three, and they'll walk out and they're fine, but then after a while, one they just go after something, either a ball or just each other, like trying to establish dominance or something to that degree. So just trying to maybe find a way. I don't know if it's like a separation or just work more one with the other until they're like, no, we're in this house together. Let's make it work.
Yeah, so I always teach individually first.
Okay.
Right. So like on the walk, for example, I teach a very structured walk. I don't teach a focused heel. Dogs allowed to sniff and look around. The dogs are not allowed to try and rip my shoulder out of my arm and drag me over to the side of the street to something that they do want to sniff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's where the structure and the rules come into play. But I always do it individually first. So the dogs know what the expectation is before we get them together, and then we can just implement the same type of rules. But then you kind of touched on another word, right, is dominance, which is a very dangerous word in dog training world.
Yeah.
Dominance is very simple. Who has priority access to resources? So to me, there's no such thing as a dominant dog. Dogs can have dominant traits in certain situations and scenarios, right? When it comes to food or guarding or, playtime or water bowl, whatever the case may be, they can create these dominant traits in certain situations, but it's all based on context, right? There's no such thing in my mind, that a dog that just wants to be the alpha all the time over every situation. Everything has different value, and so to me, the word dominance is all who has priority access to resources, and that's kind of a foundational element of leadership. We have priority access to all the resources, so when we create rules around all those things, right, it starts to teach the dog how to follow rather than how to lead.
Okay.
I like that answer. That was a great answer.
Thank you.
I had a question in the back of my mind. I wanted to wait for you guys to finish, but I want to bring it back to impulse control for just a second. are most of the behavioral problems that you come across directly related to impulse control? Like almost all the time?
There's definitely a large majority.
A majority?
There's a large majority, yeah. And impulse control is nothing more than using the thinking part of the brain rather than the emotional response part of the brain,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
like I want it now.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I say see cat, bite cat.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the response. That's the emotional response that they have versus see cat, wait, maybe check in with my owner, check back in, think about it, get into the thinking part of the brain before just reacting. So yeah, I think most behavioral problems stem from impulse control and lack thereof.
All right. Very cool. Interesting. I think that's pretty neat.
What do you see out there in terms of dogs that are kind of demanding when you walk through the door, and what's your experience been looking like?
A lot of the time out in the field, well, sometimes I'll go to meet a pet and their dog when I do these new client consultations, right? And it goes well like 90% of the time, but maybe then a third of the time I go back to actually do the visits and completely different dog, either very fearful, anxious, and that's why I asked, or I commented on, like, a lot of their confidence comes from having mom and dad around.
Yeah.
And so when I go do these, I ask the owners, do you anticipate during the new client consultation is when I ask this, do you anticipate your pet having any kind of issue or reaction with someone new entering the home without you here?
Right.
And a lot of the times the answer is, I don't know, because it's their first time doing something like this, hiring a pet sitter. A lot of the time they, bring their dog with them or they simply board the dog. And so it's always, you never know what you're going to get. It's kind of like a box of chocolates. I always approach with caution because I never know. And so the team is also aware of the protocols about what to do when a dog reacts in certain ways. I have a whole instructional manual on how to deal with anxious or fearful pets. And I tell them never, ever put yourself in a dangerous situation in which there's a difference between like a dog that's workable and is like kind of fearful and unsure of you versus one that is actually going to hurt you if you go in there. And so we do draw the line at a certain point. But a lot of the time, yeah, it's just pets not being real sure of you or, because you're someone new in their home and mom and dad's not there.
Yeah, environmental changes, environmental cues. They change the emotions of the dog pretty significantly.
Yeah, and I mean, I believe strongly that a lot of pets are happier at home, but of course, boarding does have a place for instances like this, right?
Yeah.
I like pets being at home because it smells like mom and dad. Their favorite toys are there. Their routine stays the same. It's quiet, calm, none of the chaos or competing for attention like at a boarding facility. But they do have their place. I'm not bashing them at all. I board my dog personally because I know she wouldn't do well being alone for 18 hours of the day.
Right.
So
yeah, no, and that's an interesting point too, because some of the services that I provide, right? I do board and trains periodically, but it's only in very specific cases. I prefer to train in the home with the owner, right, for similar reasons. It's the environment that they spend the large majority of their life in, and I want them to learn the rules and the behaviors and things that the owners want
that are associated with that place.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow, what a great answer. So on that note, what makes a dog or a pet in general, I guess, but we'll say dog, you're a dog trainer. What makes a dog trust its owner?
Yeah, I think trust is very much linear directly from leadership. When we provide the rules, right? We provide the love, we provide the affection, we provide all of those things. That's what builds trust over time. Some dogs obviously a little bit more confident and they'll trust you almost immediately based on maybe some of your energy or how you're feeling, but it truly develops over time. And so an example that I use is my German Shepherd Nix. I adopted her last year from Tucson, and they had told me, the behaviorist up there said that she has to be the only dog in the house, severe resource guarding issues, attacks other dogs, all kinds of stuff like that, right? Well, she's one of my 4 dogs. As soon as I met her, I evaluated her, and I said, whatever waivers you have, I'm bringing her home with me, right? And so we went through the leadership training. We started right off the bat in a new location for her, right, which is my house. And we started by establishing the rules. How do you earn the things you want? How do you ask for permission for the things that you want versus just kind of see cat, bite cat, right? Taking control of it when she wanted to. And so, I mean, within 3 days, all 4 of my dogs are eating right next to each other. And so not all of them are that quick to fix, right? Some resource guarding is pretty significant and takes a little bit longer to get some control over and start to modify. But trust is just built through daily interactions, right? It's a resource.
Is it the sum of it all?
It's the sum of all the parts.
Okay. Do you have any
Oh, no, that was good.
interjections?
That's good.
Oh, okay.
That was
Okay.
good.
It was good.
It was good. It was great.
Yeah, it was.
You're doing great.
Oh, thanks. You're doing great. He's doing great.
You're just telling him to take a vacation once in a while.
You should. You should take some time off.
There you go.
But not
should.
today,
Yeah.
because it's about you
Oh,
and him.
okay.
Both of them. There you go.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you having us on. I have a couple more questions here for you, Steve.
Sure.
When a dog is having behavioral issues, regardless of what exactly the issue is, how often is the problem the owner, or, you know, I guess I should say the owner's leadership rather than the dog itself or the dog's personality?
Yeah, I kind of subscribe to the no bad dogs methodology, right? Dogs, everything in their world is just a learned behavior that they've learned. And so most of the time it stems from what the owners are teaching or not teaching, right? And so the leadership is usually where I begin, right? We begin with starting to modify some of the rules around making sure, you know, we get some additional changes in the environment before we move on to addressing that specific maybe guarding issue, right? Because that guarding could be stemming from the lack of leadership and the lack of rules around what are the rules, right? There are no rules, so it's mine, it's my resource. I don't want anybody else to touch it, right? And that kind of thing. And so all these things that we do through primarily positive methods, right? We're not going in and correcting a dog and chomping on their neck or anything like that every time they make a mistake, right? We want to make sure we just use natural instinct. We have control of the resources like I mentioned earlier. So how do we put rules into place to teach them how to earn those things and kind of ask for permission versus trying to correct and suppress the behavior that they might be displaying in that moment.
Now, what role does structure play?
Yeah, structure's huge. Structure's huge. The dogs, again, it's kind of goes back to consistency. Structure and consistency are in the same boat for me. If you have a solid structure and the dog knows what to expect, then their life is a lot less stressful. So structure, yeah, put it in there, put it right there at the top of the list with all the other super important things. But yeah, we want to be kind to the dog. We want to be clear, and structure is a good way to do that.
Right on. So when people are at home with their dogs, usually every day, right? What are some things they can do every day to start being a leader for their dog? Is it a switch you can flip on, or does it take time?
It takes time. You can start to implement different rules and different methods pretty quick, but it's going to take the dog a little bit of time to pick up on what's necessary and what they need to do. One of the things that I like to do, so I don't use treats for obedience training and stuff like that, right? It's just something that we don't do at Always Faithful Dog Training. But I like to use it as part of my evaluation. So when I'm testing the impulse control, I'll put a treat into the nose of the dog and see how they react, how they respond. So it's very simple. I can tell them to sit and I can ask them kind of what I call that is giving them the answers to the test, right? I'm telling them what to do to get the treat. What I like for them to do is figure it out. Right, so I'll kind of hold the treat in front of their nose just to see what kind of response that I'm going to get. They might paw, they might bite, they might spin in circles and sit, lay down, do all of these different things. But all I'm waiting for is for them to kind of disengage, sit back and relax, which is also kind of an impulse control exercise. Mm-hmm. So learning to earn, they can do that all day. When you go out for a play session, holding it for a little bit, making the dog wait instead of trying to jump and take it out of your hand and toss it for them. So kind of getting into that kind of relationship with the dog is something that everybody can do.
Okay. You know, I find it really interesting that you don't use treats. It's really fascinating, but I can see why. Because if you only give the dog, you know, if you ask the dog to sit, but they only sit when you have a treat, that's a problem.
Yeah, and treats aren't inherently bad, right? I'm not an anti-treat guy.
Yeah,
I just don't use them for training because it's hard to get folks to understand how to use it as a pure reward versus as a lure or kind of a bribe, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that we see.
Right. It's not sitting is not the problem, but it might be, you know, if your dog tries to run into the street,
right,
and you don't have a piece of deli turkey on you to get them to come back.
Yeah.
So I could see why it would, you know, where it would be problematic.
Yeah, it can get a little transactional, but that's where consistency comes in.
Mm-hmm.
We do 100 repetitions of something. I want those 100 repetitions to be of the activity happening, right? So sit. If I say sit 100 times, I want the dog's butt to touch the ground 100 times. that's how they learn it best. That's how it becomes clear. That's how it gets into the autonomic part of the brain, and it becomes an automatic response versus just you know, should I, shouldn't I, am I supposed to, am I not supposed to?
So without treats, when you're asking the dog to do something, how do they know when the criteria for what you're asking them to do has been met? So, for example, if you say come and they come over, but then they kind of go over here versus, they come and you want nose on hand.
Right.
So how do they learn how do you get them to get a consistent result every time with what you're asking them to do without treats? How do they know that they're doing the right thing?
Yeah, so I always condition a marker, right? I always condition a marker, and primarily we also condition praise and play as our major reinforcer, right? And so we do that through everything. All the stuff that we've already talked about that you're doing throughout the day, playtime, all these different things. We condition those things as kind of the main reinforcer. And so when it comes to the criteria, just like you would with a tree, right? You're going to mark it when the behavior happens correctly. If they do decide to go over there, if it's the first time and they go around around the corner and then come back, all the praise in the world because they
in the right direction.
In the right direction, right? They came, right?
And so
that's
you tighten
all we're
up
doing.
the criteria over time.
Exactly.
Okay. Very interesting. What about dogs that don't love toys or like to play? Maybe that's not super high reward for them.
You'd be surprised how easy it is to condition those kind of things, right? So feeding routine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Food goes down, you're waiting patiently like I've asked you to do. Yes, good boy, good girl, yes, right? Give them a little love. So now you're conditioning it as a very positive reinforcer, and it can become pretty powerful.
Great.
Yeah.
As far as when it comes to training, can any dog not be trained? And when I say this, I mean, of course, you got your regular, any size, doesn't matter, dog, pair of dogs, whatever, come out, they're playful and stuff like that. To the extreme, and I'll use it in some of the videos I've seen, some of the places that I've been, you have more than maybe 6, either out in, unfortunately, seeing off of social media, in different kennels or environments where they're running rampant and they're like just yards all torn up and everything's messed up all out of place. Can dogs like those, or any to that extent, be trainable?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The number one thing, the only time I would consider a dog quote unquote untrainable if there's some kind of neurological issue, right? So I've been to evaluations where I've seen a dog literally just pounce on the ground and stare at a spot on the floor for a half an hour straight.
That's like obsessive.
Right? It's very, very obsessive. So instead of saying, all right, let's jump into training, hey, you need to go talk to your vet. You need to have them run some tests, make sure that there are no neurological conditions present, because that seemed like a pretty compulsive behavior to me that may have indicated some neurological issues. So in those situations, that's probably where I would say, let's see what that looks like first, make sure there's no medical conditions getting in the way. But other than that, every dog can be trained. And that's a particular environment that you just kind of created in your head, right? Put some rules into place. They still need to eat. Let's put some rules into place for feeding time with those 6 dogs. Right? It can go a long way. Any dog can be trained. Every dog learns at a different pace.
Right.
Every dog learns in different methods. Right? But every dog can learn.
Not every
dog can be perfect.
Yeah.
But
on that note, with you, when you go out walking dogs, you or anybody off your staff and stuff, when they may maybe run across a pet that might be just a little defensive or something of that nature, what are some of the techniques or whatever? Like, mom and dad's away, they've hired your company. Hey, can you check on our dogs, make sure it's okay? You come walking in the door, one of them's like, who is you? How are some of the ways that you're able, I mean, do you meet with them with the parents there first? Or how does that go about?
Yeah, always. I always. I will never agree to any kind of booking without meeting the pet and their parent first, so we can go over everything, make sure all the notes are correct, the care routine is, right, and everything that is on our end, instructions-wise, is the way that they want things to be done. As far as entering a home and a pet kind of, and there are some like that. I had one yesterday, actually. Luckily, owner was only gone for a day, but actually tried to bite one of my staff, and so I took everybody else off the schedule that day for this dog, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it because I don't want to put anybody in that position. Right. I would rather it be me than one of them.
Yeah.
And so I went in there myself, and even so, coaxing, I'm big on treats.
Yeah, no.
I love the treats.
Like I said,
I'm no trainer.
Anti-treat. I just
Yeah.
use them for training.
Right on. And I think that treats have a different role for me versus for you.
Right.
This is, hey, I come with good things.
Don't bite me, please.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But I also, for instances like that, where it's just not, the dog's too fearful, too anxious. This one, for instance, hid under the bed the whole time, rumbling, really, really fearful and anxious. And in that case, I do, there are certain pets that are like that at first, but they're workable, and you sit and you talk and you remain neutral. You don't look them in the eye. Go about, do other things in the house, like water the plants, turn on or off the lights, open the blinds. And, sometimes they'll come out if you just leave them alone, and they'll warm up to you. They'll come up to you, sniff you. But when it's not workable and they're very, very scared or anxious, I require my clients to list 2 emergency contacts that are in town and able to help if called upon, that are hopefully familiar with the pet, so that the pet can be more comfortable. The last thing I want is for the pet to be anxious, unhappy. I don't want me or any of my staff to get hurt.
Of course.
And I don't want the client's trip, if they're going out of town, to be ruined either. So we try to safeguard that as much as possible by meeting them in person, contacting the client if and when there's any issues, asking for, does he have any favorite words or trigger words, or, anything in the fridge I can use, like sausage hot dogs, or, having people on hand that if my staff and I can't do it, hopefully, a family member or a trusted friend that knows the dog and is familiar with the dog might be able to take over.
Okay. Yeah, because I basically was asking that, caveating off of the physical versus mental to impulse, I believe you said it.
Impulse control.
So just in case something like that was to happen, what are the steps and procedures that you would go about as well as teaching the staff? And that pretty much answered, just looking for in case something like that happens.
Right. We try to do our best to make sure that doesn't happen, but there's only so much you can do.
Right.
You never know how an animal's going to react to a new person entering the home. And I ask, but that doesn't mean.
Right. The environment.
Because it might be 29 days, dog's in a great mood. Day 30, not so much.
That can happen. That can happen. I did have and this was a neurological condition. It was my friend's dog. I did a visit for her while she was out of town. And I said, okay, I opened the crate. The instruction was to put him in the crate at the end of the visit. Okay, Odie, go on in. He goes right in. I shut the door immediately. Like, teeth out, everything. And here I'm thinking it's a resource guarding thing.
Right.
But I came back the next day, and totally different dog. He's chasing me out of the house and everything. It was not the crate. It was not the crate. It was not the crate. But we try our best to prevent these things from happening. And when they do happen, we have a safety net in place.
Okay.
Things do happen. I took my first bite, 3-4 weeks ago?
Oh my goodness, really?
I had a Belgian Malinois that likes to bite people that come to the house, and so I went to do the evaluation. Please make sure you have your dog on a leash. Did not have their dog on the leash. Went ahead and did what he normally did, and so good news story is he's a happy client. We're still working with him today.
Wow.
And he's making a lot of progress.
That's good.
That's great. Wow, you're really committed.
Absolutely. And dogs are everything to me, man. They have an issue. It's not the dog's fault. There's a lack of rules, there's a lack of boundaries, and the dog made a snap decision out of fear, and sometimes it happens.
Or
right
just
on.
wanted a treat. I don't know.
I don't know.
Kind of sweet, Steve.
I went over to meet this dog, and the client literally 2 days ago, and I'm picking him up, I'm holding him like a baby on his back, and then I go in there, totally different dog.
Yeah.
It's really wild how it can flip like a switch, and even if maybe they remember you, well, dad's not around. So, totally different story.
Environmental cues can have an impact, but that's one of the questions I always ask in my questionnaire. When did this behavior start? The second they say, oh, it just came out of nowhere. It usually doesn't come out of nowhere completely, but if it's something that just popped up very suddenly,
right.
First thing I usually recommend is let's go talk to the vet first, make sure that we rule out any medical conditions first. Dogs change. And obviously, they're always learning their environment, but it's pretty rare that a dog would just suddenly create a brand new behavior out of nowhere. And
it doesn't just appear out of nothing. Right. That's not how it works.
And if it does, let's go talk to the vet first.
Yeah, I know, don't get me wrong. Maybe you don't see them as often as I do because you're a trainer. But I have plenty of clients whose dogs are like, "Oh my gosh, you're here! We're gonna have the best time.
Oh, yeah.
Let's play!"
Right.
And they bring their toys over and they run right outside and they're happy that you're there. More often than not, that is the case.
Right.
But sometimes the door does swing the other way. But we do what we can.
That's it.
We just like to make pets and their parents happy.
Do our best. Hopefully save some dogs and make sure they're not running off to shelters and things because they can't control their situation.
Right on.
Any other notes you got?
No, boss.
You're good?
I'm good. Are you good?
I'm always good.
Do you have any takeaway message that you would like pet parents to hear?
Yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything else. I think the big thing, like I said, is when I order the responsibilities, right? Mental, then physical, then emotional. Let's get that mental exercise. Let's get those water buckets that are the dog's brain emptied out a little bit and get some more calm and relaxation in our lives.
And you?
My takeaway
Any
message
Yeah.
is thank you for having us on. You do good work. You deserve more credit than you get. Thank you for having coming on and allowing me to interview you so I can share your message as well and share your platform.
Absolutely.
And just to go over it one more time, Steve, what are the social media sites they could go ahead and find you at if they're looking for you?
Primarily, we're on Facebook and Instagram. Always Faithful Dog Training of Southeast Arizona. We've got lots of different links that we're connected to as well, but those are primary on social media.
Okay.
Canines in Camo Sierra Vista and Canines in Camo Tucson for Instagram. Canines in Camo Pet Care LLC Sierra Vista. Canines in Camo Pet Care LLC Tucson on Facebook. 2 websites, Canines in Camo Pet Care for Sierra Vista, Canines in Camo Tucson for Tucson.
All of these, again, will be in the introduction above and or the comments below, depending where you are watching from. I want to thank you both for coming on today, giving me a little break. I appreciate that. Still here, but it was great.
Well, thanks. Did you plug yourself?
I'll be plugging my...
Okay.
Of course I'm going to plug myself on Facebook. Z-Line. Follow the Z-Line. Or you could go on Instagram, Erik Zieba, E-R-I-K, space, Z-I-E-B-A, or Z-Line. Same thing. You'll find them. 2 links. Pretty good. Also, you can go ahead and follow me on TikTok. You can follow me on X and Twitch because that's how I get out there, as well as definitely, most definitely, YouTube at _Erik, E-R-I-K-Z. That's where you're going to find this video. That's where you're going to find a whole bunch of videos. If you want to know something about veteran-owned business, go check it out. Any business, what that matter, go check it out. Got 2 amazing experts in the canine field. Definitely go check them out. Check out this one. Check out their individual stories. They're there. Especially when we had technical difficulty and she pointed it out for me. That's why she came here today. She wanted to make sure it was done right. All right.
Sure.
Notice she didn't laugh or anything. She's like going, yeah, that's right. Keep talking.
Yeah, go.
It's like, you're up front, I'm behind. Think about it. But thank you, everybody, once again. Thank you, too, for coming on. I truly do appreciate it. Next time we are here with Gen X Grit. If I am not mistaken, I will be having Marisol Tarber from CSun Creations. She's coming back. She's got new things to share. A lot of things changing, pieces moving in different directions. Want to catch up with her. Totally going to be worth it. As well, follow the Warrior Healing Center for Cochise County Veteran-Owned Business. I will be having Gloria on. She is going to be talking about her home-based business. I'm going to go ahead and keep that as a safe little sneak. You have to tune in to find out. So we will see you next time. And remember, if you're in the Tucson Sierra Vista area, you need help with your pet, these are the 2.
Right on. Thanks, Erik.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Y'all take care and bye.